Look, we are, Alison. I'm just trying to get rid of everything. Right, I think we're live. If you listen, I can see Alison's there. Got a slight problem in that the internet wasn't connecting, and I can't get my switcher unit to work. But I can see your comments, and I'll be able to put the picture, the screen on. But I can't switch from one to the other. So once I switch to the painting camera, that'll be it. But I'll still be able to see your comments. Hiya, Janet. You all right? So can you actually hear me? Because we have had a problem trying to get set up. So if you can just let me know that you can hear me. I think you can. And then we'll go to the this photograph. So it'll be this angle, like this. As it's a big watercolour and loose. Yeah, you can hear me. You can't hear me. Right, you can't hear me. What can we do? I don't know why you can't hear me. It says I'm live here. It says I've got the voices. Alison can't hear me. Janet can hear me. Alison, oh. I presume now that oh means you can hear me. Nothing's working at the moment because it's just set up. So the switch unit where I have my speaker attached, my mic attached to my shirt, isn't working. So I'm speaking through the laptop here. So if the voice vanishes when I turn to paint, all I can do is apologise and just carry on painting. So we're going to do the stairs one, but do it as a, Janet can hear all loud and clear. All right, okay, thank you, Janet. Hear everything clear. You might, when I turn away from the mic, it might vanish a bit, and I'll try and sort it out for next time. It's just everything is just gone wrong with this system today. Not the system, but the internet. Lynn says the internet went downstairs. Right, okay then. I presume people, I had earphones plugged into my iPad. All right. Right, well, I'm going to start painting, and like I said, it's going to be stairs, it's going to be loose. But what I'm going to have to do now is I can still see you and I can still hear you, but I can't switch between cameras for one or the other. So once I turn this, you're just going to see the painting camera. So it's at an angle, which is all I can do with a watercolour. This is a half sheet, 22 by 11. I've got Jack here in the studio making sure I do things right. So I've got it taped down, and I'm just going to paint, and I'll keep an eye on the comments and see if I can spot you. And I can't switch from camera to camera today, so we've got this is it. So this is it. Right, so it's going to be stairs, and I'm going to do it quite loose. I was going to draw it in, but I can't find a pencil. Wait a second. Wait a second. I haven't got a pencil. So I'm just going, I haven't got a pencil. That's one thing I missed. I'm going to just paint it in. So I'm just going to paint. So you're just going to see me painting the picture, right? Just move that out the road. Right. So up here, wait a second, the other camera, yeah, up here, this is the background hills, like Bankside, and then the buildings in sort of, I want it to look like backlit a bit, as though the sun's coming up behind, so making it sort of backlit. So I'm going to wash it in the sky, and then hopefully get a pencil for our Lynn to get me a pencil in a minute. Ask our Lynn if she can borrow a pencil, Jack. Sorry about that, but Jack's going to go and get a pencil. But I'm going to start painting in a second. So I'm going to use a big brush, a big mop brush, and just get this light sky back in. Then the buildings are going to be on this side, and the boat's down here. So I I have to just keep an eye on the camera. So I'm going to carry on and assuming that you can all see this. So I'm going to do the sky. But as I'm doing the sky, I'm going to water into the land, the hill at the back at the same time. So mixing the paint, so I'm going to get a very light sky. Thanks, Jack. Just stick it down there, Tar. I'm just going to put the sky in right now, so I'm putting a very light sky in. Like that. So very light cerulean blue, and I'm going to have weak yellow ochre in. You want plenty of water for this because it's got to be a big wash. So I'm just moving things over so that you can see it. Cerulean blue, plenty of water. That's why I'm using a big mop, and some yellow ochre separate. And I'm making quite a mess here, so I've got yellow ochre separate down there. And what I'm going to do is put the sky in for this wash, gradually add the background for the tree, for the hillside at the back, and then darken it down after that. So I don't want this to be too strong. So I'm going to go in over here, and this is going to be the background sky, as though there's a lot of light just coming in from the background. And I'll draw the buildings in while the sky's drying. So just putting this light sky in. This is just yellow ochre, washed down. Gradually add the cerulean blue as you're coming over to the right. So just adding cerulean blue as you're coming across to the right hand side. Plenty of water needed. A big brush, big mop. These hold a lot of water, so it's a gradual feeling, and the paper's on an angle, so that's why you can see the sort of the water level coming down. The paper's tilted, so the water just keeps following downwards like that. So I'm going to start adding darker colours in down here. So I'm going to add some French ultramarine and burnt sienna. Bit of French ultramarine, bit of burnt sienna, so it's not bright, and just sort of gradually darken this down. This is going to be the background light, and I'm going to put more into it, but I'm just sort of establishing an area where the where the land's going to be, and fetch that down to the bottom like that. It wants to finish about there, wants to finish across there. And it's just a nice clean wash like that. Dry the brush off, get a little bit more French ultramarine and burnt sienna, so it's a bit stronger. So you've got the colour just that bit stronger. And put that in along the bottom, through here, and just sort of let it build in. What you've got to be careful of is the pool of water along the bottom. So you've got to just get this sort of established, this sort of sense of shadow down here, and pick up the pool of water. I'll just get some tissue. Because I'm doing it on an angle, the water's running down, which is nice, so you get a nice graduated wash, but I don't want it to pile up and then run back. So I'm just dropping the colour in a bit like that. I'm going to paint the hill in a minute, the background hill. So this is the bottom where the land is, and down here is going to be the beach, the sort of the sandy beach, and where the water comes in. So this area here wants to be a lot stronger in yellow ochre. The boats are going to be in here, and just dragging it through quite broken. So you're just creating a little sense of the broken beach. Now leave plenty white, don't fill it in, because you want these to be bits of stones and rocks. So you're just sort of gradually dragging that down. This is where the boat's going to be, and I'll draw them in a minute. And you'll also get a little bit of land just in there, just underneath there. like just the sort of the broken bit of stonework under the land just there, and that wants to be sort of level because your river's coming round here, so that wants to be sort of levelled off. Right, while that's drying, I'll just draw in the boats. I'm hoping you can keep hearing me, etc. We've got posts and we've got buildings to go in here. We've got landscape to go in here. But your boats want to be sat about here, so I'll draw it in quite strong. Can you see all right on that camera? Yeah. You can all right. Draw it in quite strong. So that's sort of the boat just laid in the on the sort of the rock side, like on the beach there. I'm saying beach, but it's basically just stones, etc. So you've got a boat there, and another boat just sort of laid here, sort of with its back to you, sort of thing. So it's going along like that, away from you. So that's the front, back, up, and across the back like that, and then just sit that down on the land and pull that in like that. So you've got that into there. There's a little boat on here. You can put a little boat, just a small one, just the back sort of entrance just there. Probably suggesting it's just a smaller boat or farther away. And then you're going to have poles in, etc. Now the buildings are going to go in up here. People still, I hope people still can hear. Buildings going to go up here, but I'm not going to bother drawing them in because I'm going to mark the paper. So I'm going to just paint these in as soon as this area is dry. There is a bit of a land here. I can draw part of it in, but I don't want to draw in the wet wash. So we're going to just put them in. So there's a bit of a boat just going up. There's like a slip just there between these houses. There's a slip just up there that vanishes behind. And there's a boat laid on the slip just up there like that. And you've got various posts, etc. It's actually a nice wash. When you tilt these papers and let them colour run down, you get some nice broken washes into them, smooth washes. The problem, what you've got to be careful of, is this edge where you tape it, because if the water sits on there, that's why I've sort of pressed it down. If the water sits on there, it can run back in when the wash is dry and give you a cauliflower. That's a nice graduated wash. I'm not painting this hill in dark, this background, this opposite side of the river. I'm not painting this in dark. I'm just going to make it look as though the sun's lighting everything up and everything's backlit. So I'm going to put that in a second, but right now I'm going to put some more stronger stones in. So I'm changing from the big mop brush, because the mop brush is great for doing like big washes, but I want a bit of texture in now. So I'm going to just use a normal sort of Kolinsky sable, and I'm going to use Payne's Grey. Just going to put Payne's Grey onto the palette. I'll show you it. Can you see it? I've got to be careful. I'm holding this over the blinking screen. So I've got Payne's Grey like that, and I've got yellow ochre on this side, stronger. It's green now because there's Payne's Grey mixed into it, but that's all right. Put some burnt sienna in. So you want some quick broken washes. So Payne's Grey, side of the brush, keep the brush on its side, and just drag. There's a sort of a slight incline there, so just drag it down to the boat, just there like that. Just that slight in, and avoid the boats if you can, just leaving a little bit of light into there. Bit of yellow ochre just dragged in as well, broken. So you're leaving all the broken texture. These become stones, etc., and water and bits. And you want a feeling of wet patches in here and there. So coming from underneath the boat like that, underneath that boat, just take it away stronger, side of the brush, and you're just dragging it out over towards the estuary, the river, down into here. Level that out and leave a patch alone, as though that could be just still resting water off the thing when the tide's gone out. And then some yellow ochre, and just drag the yellow ochre in. side of the brush, so you're skimming over the paper and just leaving the effect for nice stones, etc. down here. So just side of the brush across like that. And you've just built that up, and then you will darken this down in places. Now we need to fetch the river, the estuary, round the corner. So just get a bit of yellow ochre, pick up the wash from where it was, drag it with the side of the brush so it's broken, like that again. So you're just leaving little suggestions of stones, and it wants to sort of come round here like this. So the river's coming, the stream's coming up there, round from the back, and coming round here, and eventually out to the into the harbour, into the sea. And that wants to be sort of a few broken bits out there. So as it comes round, it just gets wider. So that's where you want that. I'm just going to touch in because I've just got to take out a little bit of where, because I've been leaning the paper over. It's something on the picture. We'll have to paint a chimney in there. Right, so we'll put the background area in now, the hill in the background. And I'm going to use the mop again, and I'm just going to suggest this grass so it looks as though you've got a backlit area, so it's not dark going off to the back, so darker here, backlit across there. And it wants to be sort of a green, but not a bright green. So the best colour you can use for this is probably a bit of French ultramarine, and some yellow ochre in, as opposed to cadmium yellow. A bit of yellow ochre in, so you're getting a duller green. And you can just flick that in. So what you've got there is, what I've mixed is just that colour there. A little bit of yellow ochre and French ultramarine, just to get a dull green. And I don't want it strong, and I want to put in the land across here. So darker down here. Your paint has to be stronger, otherwise, because this is wet, you'll get a cauliflower. So paint has to be stronger, and you're just sort of suggesting the hill in the background. So just a few broken patches of colour up here, going out towards the back, taller, down here, just big strokes down to the bottom of where your beach is, like that. Just blend it together, big strokes. Now just go for yellow ochre to go farther back, just a bit of wet yellow ochre. Take it to the top above the hill, like that, and just wash that in. This is the top of the far bank side, like that. So you're letting that colour run in. It's just where the sunlight is catching it. And what you want to do is get this to lose and vanish. So little touches like that, broken through. Wet your brush so it's just lighter, and just sort of tease this out and just leave little suggestions of light here and there, like that. So you're just trying to suggest broken sunlight coming from the background, and in the end just wet it out, because it's dry off here. Wet it out and just let it vanish in behind the rest of the land back there, and just blend it. You don't need any broken bits, just blend it in so that it's just gradually vanishing, and make it darker as you get to the bottom. So as you're coming down to the base land, the bottom of the land, make it darker just down here. And that sort of wants to just go through there. Oh, I can actually see it on the computer. Didn't realise I could see it on the computer. I can see what I'm doing. Makes a change. Right, so that's going through there like that. I just have to take that off because it just blocked my picture. So this is going to be cliff area, this is going to be foliage, but it's not going to be highly detailed. So just allow that to run down like that and into there, and just peel it off. Just little touches, so you're suggesting lighter patches here and there. Just little weak touches of land, so you just feel as though you can blur it out like that. That's fine. The river's going to go in here, so the river's going to be darker with a few strokes. So for the river, I just want some Payne's grey. Payne's grey. I'm going to add a little bit of French ultramarine into the Payne's grey. Just a little bit of French ultramarine into Payne's grey. And just create a few streaks. I'm going to let some light focus into this so we've got backlight. So I'm not touching them, I'm just going to do a few streaks across like that, round that boat, off to the side. Making it darker and stronger as you come down. So down here it wants to be darker, wants to be sort of reflecting the mass of the land behind. And that's just coming through there like that. So that's going to be your water area where your stream's going to come through. Just an odd little thing. Leave white because that's just catching the light from behind. And we can always add a little bit of detail into that afterwards. Just break it through and let that go off the wall. So that's your water coming through, but we'll put some darker reflections into that afterwards. So now you want to start putting the land in, the buildings in. So we've got a big light building here, and then some gable ends here, and then more gable ends, and then the wall, the whole wall. So this one wants to be paler, but not cream too much. So what I would use for that is a little bit of cerulean blue. So a little bit of cerulean blue, and I'm going to drop yellow ochre into it so that it's not too bluey, and we want to sort of start off the center of the page here. So it's just going off the edge a little bit. Just move it across so I can see the picture. Right, so it's up here like this, and on the side view like that, down like that, and you're going to lose that behind the wall like that. Get a bit of yellow ochre and drop that in. So you're just creating a loose effect like that. Fetch that down, the wall's going to go through there, so that's going to be wall. And while you're on with a smaller brush, you can suggest chimneys, etc. up there. So you can suggest a chimney top, another chimney top just going away in the distance like that, and then a farther one just farther back like that. So just gradually just vanishing into the distance. So you've got the gable end, and then it goes away down off the side, and you've got a darker window to go in here, but we'll sort of put that in afterwards. So that's sort of the lighter bit. We now need the darker parts put in. So I'm still using a mop because I can get that effect. I might find it runs a bit just here, but that's all right, that's part of the thing. So we want the building going down here, and that's a darker silhouette. So use French ultramarine and burnt sienna. So French ultramarine and burnt sienna. I don't know, I'm just checking that you... Jen, sorry I'm late. Sorry Jen, we have a problem. I can only see the computer now and then, so I have to stop and look at it, so it's fine. So French ultramarine, burnt sienna, get a nice sort of warm grey. It doesn't want to be on the blue side, it wants to be on the burnt sienna side. And you're just going to create a building here. Don't worry about the land behind, you're just going to create a building up here. Chimney in, it's wet but it'll dry out as it's going along the edge here. So you've got this coming in, there's a few windows down here. Like that, that's sort of going away. Just leave a few gaps for some windows. And then there's more of the building here. I know it's running, but I will dry the edges off. This is just to establish where the buildings are going to be. So there's a wall there, then a wall just there, and that wall comes out like that, and it comes down here at an angle like that. So that's sort of your slip into there. So just establishing washes going in. you want a reddish type roof, so a little bit of cadmium red in with the yellow ochre, and just a flick for the roof like that. And you will, like I said, you will actually blend things together properly, tidy things up together properly. So you're establishing the roof like that. You've got the building coming out. So what you want is some stronger, drier paint now. So really strong blue and burnt sienna. Strong blue, burnt sienna. And establish a darker edge just here. This is sort of coming out into the things. A bit more burnt sienna into that. Establish a dark just there. That's going to be the wall going along there and round the back of the building, and that's going to be the building there. I'm going to go over it once it's dry. I want to lift it up a fraction, so I want that to peer up the top a bit, so I'm going to make the chimney just that bit higher and just get the detail into the chimney and the angle off like that. So that's going to be sort of your gable end down there into that area there, right? And this is going to be a wall here, so strong burnt sienna, French ultramarine, and you want a wall here that sort of comes in front of that building, a strong dark down there like that, and up in front of that building. You've got bits of, I wouldn't call them garages, but little buildings up the edge there, and they come down. Add some yellow ochre into it, so it's just lighter. A little bit of yellow ochre in, so you get it lighter down to the bottom, and then strengthen it for the bridge, the wall down here. So there's a wall down here, strengthen it out, and take that wall, and I will put some more strength into that afterwards. And that wants to come down to where your slopey land is, just down there like that, round the edge of that board. And then just break it up with some sideways strokes like that, and drop stronger colours into that. So I'm just dropping some patches of burnt sienna in, patches of blues in, and just making it stronger. So you're getting that sort of lighter feel to the building. So what we want now is to sort of put in round the board. So get your darker colour, get a smaller brush. Get a smaller brush, using a dark colour, and shape the board. So that's the front of the board, that's the back of the board, like that, round there. So shape the board, shape the wall. We'll give it more edge when it's dry out, and just drag out a little bit of broken edges across the front, and a bit of yellow ochre in there, so that it just feels like the stonework. So you're going round the edge of the board and just dragging some broken edges out and round the edge of that board. You have strong shadows because of the backlighting of all of this. So you've got stronger shadows coming into here. And then what you want to do is shape round these boards as well. So get your dark colour, your blue and burnt sienna, French ultramarine, burnt sienna, quite strong, and go under the board, back to where it is. Put a little bit of shadow out there, but pull a stronger sense of shadow just out from the edge of the board like that. I'm just going to flick on so that I can hardly see what's happening, so I'm just going to flick on and see myself what I'm doing, if I can. I've lost something, it doesn't matter. I can see it on that picture there anyway. I can see it on the camera that Jack's watching. Do the same with the other board. Blue, French ultramarine, burnt sienna. Don't paint it along there because that's meant to be lighter. You're coming from the shadow underneath the board, so you're making a strong shadow just under the board. A bit more burnt sienna, like that. Just a little sense of shadow out to the other side, and just drag it out a bit. It's not long shadows because it's sort of backlit from behind, so it's just into there like that. And now we need to put some more texture into the bottom of the land. So a big brush, just a French, a Kolinsky, sable, big brush, and you want to use the same colours you've used there, but a bit more water in. So French ultramarine, burnt sienna, French ultramarine, burnt sienna, and you're just going to drag some broken little bits of texture, not massive sweeping ones, just little sense of broken texture coming down from the side like that into that wall area, and then the same across the foreground. Just want that to look as though it's wet, so you just want to go below it and just drag a few broken stones across that area like that, so you feel as though you've got a sense of water just running down there. A few broken bits just down here, just side of the brush, and just create some little stones coming out like that. This is blue and burnt sienna with the side of the brush, and then just get some yellow ochre, dry it, and drag that in amongst that as well. So some bits of yellow ochre. So you're just breaking up the stones, and you're coming down to the edge of that board and just round the edge of it. And then you're coming down into here, little bits of broken yellow ochre. Build it into the shadow and down into here. That's fine, that looks alright. Now we need the same down here, we need yellow ochre down here. Want to feel as though you're going up the sort of the slip up there. So you want a yellow ochre behind these boats. And up the side, and there's, like I said, there's a boat there, so we'll just leave a light patch for the boat just there, and just drag this yellow ochre up into that light area there. So that's going to be the slip just down the edge there, right? So I want to put a bit more dark into here, but not too much. It's fine. You want to make sure that it is on whatever you put on is drier. So I'm going to use the same colours, the French ultramarine and the burnt sienna, but more towards the blue side. And I'm going to add texture into here and drop some yellow ochre in as well. So I'm using a mop brush, and I'm just going to flip in round here some darker areas just on the opposite bank. Lose that bit there. So just on the opposite bank, just some broken texture just getting stronger up there, and it even stronger towards the bottom, so you're just getting a sense of where the hill is meeting this opposite bank side just here. Push that in, get yellow ochre into it with the yellow ochre like that. So you're just building this sort of darker area up here, and just flip it around like that, and allow some of the light to show through. Don't sort of fill it in solid, just flip it around and just gradually tease that off to the other side. And what you want to do is add a watery yellow ochre, in fact yellow ochre, but add a little bit of cadmium yellow in, not a lot, but just a little touch of yellow, and so you're just going to lighten it up a little bit. That's it. And just sort of take that through the hill, just dragging it in, broken, off to the side, like that. Dry the brush off, and just sort of tease it in, so it stays lighter on the top. So I'm drying the brush off and just dabbing it in, so that I'm not affecting it too much, just taking that off like that. Just blending that in and leaving it as a darker mass for the far side of the bank, and then we'll tidy up the rocks underneath there as well. You can put some darker Payne's grey, just get a brush, put some darker Payne's grey into the bottom where the water's going to be. So this is where the water is. You want a sense of movement, but you want a darker still patch just here, a bit darker than that. You want a darker still patch that's reflecting off the land there. So you can darken this down quite strong, stronger than what I've got it. There you go. Darken it down quite strong. Flick it through to leave a few looser bits of movement like that. And then just dry the brush off at the edge and just take that back with a dry brush and just create some movement in the water. Parallel strokes and just create a sense of movement through the water like that. But keep it stronger down in the bottom area, so you've got this feeling of the river, sort of like the estuary just coming through. I'll strengthen that up there just a bit. Like that. A few little touches of yellow ochre on the far bank side and just sort of pull it down into the rocks, leaving some lighter patches of rocks over there. And then after that we come down into more finer detail over to that side. Right, I'm going to put in the roof again over here because it wants to be more on a slant. So a little bit of cadmium red, yellow ochre. It wants to be lighter because it wants to feel as though it's catching the sunlight. So it's coming from the top of the chimney down like that, angled away. Just blend it in. Drop a little bit more strength in. Like that, and that wants to come down to there. Edge of that. And then once sort of a yellow ochre feel. A yellow ochre feel to the other side. Just going away. Just lighten it up down there. Right, and I'll tidy that edge up as well when we go along. So we've got a nice sort of soft effect of everything, and then we need to sort of really start in detail on the thing. So we need the boats putting in. So I need to put the boats in while I'm just waiting for bits to dry up here. So the boats want to have just a feeling of a shape round like that at the back. So I'm going to make them different colours. So I'm going to make one more sort of, I'll make that one stronger, a little bit of sort of a violety colour, just so you get a strength. You're going to leave a light edge at the top. So down the back like that, up to the edge, down the other side like that. Curve it round into the wash. It's a bit wet there, so I'll have to dry that off. Curving this board in like that, around the back, so it wants to drop and up and just appear like that. Now that wants to be in, but then it wants to be toned down so that it feels as though it's in shadow a little bit. So what you want now is some stronger, get some blue and burnt sienna. The reason I'm using this blue and burnt sienna a lot is just sort of it joins everything together. So I'm just dropping that in, leaving the blue colour just to say showing, so it's just a silhouette of the colour. And I'll probably have to sharpen that silhouette up there, into there like that. So that's the bottom of one boat, and we need the back side of the other boat. In fact, we just need the side of the other boat going away. So I would use a strong brown. We'll make it strong burnt sienna. So you can use your blue and burnt sienna, but push more brown into it. And that wants to come round from the back like that, up to the back edge and across the top and round the base like that, down into the corner, join it to the back. Use a darker colour where we actually put the shadow and just fetch the shadow out, so it joins with its shadow really, like that, and just joins into there. And then we'll do the interior. Now the back board wants the same. It wants a silhouette just down the side where the light's catching, so that's going up there like that, curving up, dropping down, and then you can see sort of the back of it like that. And just let it bleed into the rest of the land. And then this boat here, we'll make that just a little bit more yellow ochre-y. Bit of yellow ochre, bit of red. Back of the boat. So the back of the boat, curve it down like that. Just take a tip there, but leave it lighter on the left hand side, because you want the sunlight, you want the light to be up into that area there, so you leave it lighter. Right, I'm going to put this strong wall in here, and then I'm going to come over to here, but I've got to let that dry, because otherwise everything is just running. But we're getting the phased effect we want. So this, I'm just trying to see what the picture looks like myself. Broken walls and all sorts coming down here. Some blue and burnt sienna, stronger. The shape of a wall just there. Give some various sort of sizes and shapes. Like that. Fetch it down to the bottom. Just break it up and fetch it down there. And then this is the same. So you can go just above this, like that. Go just above it, get that top edge in there, which comes out here like that. Get that top edge in there. Like that, and then another wall going up. Bit of yellow ochre. Like that. And just dry your brush off. Just dry your brush off and just pull that down. So you're just sort of breaking it down without touching into the surface below where you've done it. It doesn't matter if you do, but you want a distinction in there. Like that. So you're just sort of creating a really dark shadow. Now for the top of that, just get it a bit stronger blue and burnt sienna. More on the burnt sienna side, and just get a harder edge just there. Just suggest some little broken bits into there. You're not bothered about detail, this is just meant to be backlit. You're not looking for great detail on this. You need to put this in stronger down here. I'm just checking. It's nearly fairly dry. As long as you use a dryish colour, you'll be alright. So, guess what colour we're using? Blue and burnt sienna. I'm just seeing if it's dry enough. Yeah. So you're painting the silhouette now of that house. And it comes down to that side. Just round, leave a gap for a window, like that. Take it out a fraction, the gable end out a fraction, and then just fetch it down. And then you've got another sort of window just in there. And this comes down here. Some wet yellow ochre and wet into it, and just sort of break it up. And there's this bird just flying overhead just there. Got a bit of tissue. I'll just get rid of that bird. Ooh. Tilted the paper. Right. So you've got that sense of a window up there, but you don't want it to be solid all the way down. So you want a wet yellow ochre, and you want to sort of just flick in and leave suggestions of windows and doors, etc. down there, like that. Broken. Create this darker area just here. Down there. And this darker area here. Just where it's sort of stepping out. And again, just a sense of shape rather than anything else, like that. So you've just got that sense of shadow and shape down there. We can afterwards, if you want, harden some edges up. We might have to harden some up. In the meantime, while that's dry, tell you what, a little flick just down underneath your roof. Just to take your roof away, like that. wants to be a bit taller, just there. Like that, right? Boats, get some yellow ochre for the boats. And just go inside the boat, leaving a white lip round the side, just inside the boat edge. Fetching it up like that, and do the same for that one. Remember, that's the front of the boat, so it comes out and back. Just around the top, and a little bit of light into that one, and a little bit of light into that one, round the side of it and inside of it, like that. So you're establishing your boats. We've got poles to put in, and we've got detail to put in down here. Just going to darken the boat down on the on this side where it was wetter, so it's a clean edge. Just down there, and a clean edge in there. Like that, and let them dry off a bit. All the ropes and things in the picture you put in afterwards. Now this bit up here, excuse me, you want to just sort of suggest windows in there. You don't need to paint windows in or anything like that. I'm just going to darken the chimneys just a little bit, so they just have a little sense of, yeah, don't want it too strong, just a little sense of silhouette just in the top of the chimney there, and the odd bit down there, but nothing, I don't want anything too much down there. And use the same sort of colouring, bit of blue burnt sienna, and just suggest your window in here, so it's dry, so you can touch your window in like that, put it in, wet your brush, because you don't want this to be solid. Wet your brush, tease it out, and just sort of suggest some framework in between, and just leave it as an edge, leave a lip, and just put it in like that. You don't need anything else, you don't need it to be jumping out too much. You can run a little bit just down into here where I sort of stopped, so you can just join in there. Dry your brush off and just sort of blend that in, and then we'll put some sense of figures, etc. in there as well. Right, come along the bottom, and we want to sort of detail some of this underneath. So you want the Payne's grey, just a Payne's grey, and what you want to do is flick in to the right hand side and the bottom of some of these light patches that you've left. So you go underneath them, pull a shadow away, not a long shadow because it's backlit, so don't pull too much away. So just touching into the light patches and just pulling a little sense of, you're just trying to create stones down in this bottom area here. Just little flicks, as though the stones are just catching the stronger light into here. Underneath, and we'll flash some bricks, etc. into there, just clear that edge a bit down here. And this is meant to be more as though the water's still laid in this area, wetter just here, so you're sort of creating a darker edge. Don't get involved too bitty with just a loose sort of flicks, so you're just creating little edges down here. Now I will drag some more yellow ochre in if necessary. So just under the light patches, just pulling stones out. Like that. I could do with this being raised up a bit. I'm sort of bending right down now on this. little sense of rocks over onto the water's edge. What you've got to do is go underneath the bottom bits and leave it as though there's rocks harder on the top. So you darken underneath and off to the bottom a bit, and just leave them light across the top edges. I'm not wanting to paint in every stone on this picture. It's just an idea of painting a loose feeling into it. So I don't want to go down the stage of deliberately painting every type of feature in. I want this to be a looser feel all around. That's an excuse for being lazy, really, but I'm not trying to darken just above that white patch there, like that. Darken above it, and then just a few flicks below it as a sense of water. If you wanted it to be a sense of water, you could get some blue. You could get some blue and you could reflect that boat. You could just put in a little sense of reflection of that boat. Wait a second, I want some tissue. Like that, just a little feeling as though there's a patch of water there, just reflecting that boat down there. But continue on along with the paint script and just flick in some little patches of stones here and there. Like that, and then we'll drag afterwards some more broken yellow ochre in, just to give a more sandier feel to it. Don't get, as I say, get bogged down with too much detail. Get your paint grade darker, and from where your stones were here, this paint grade wants to be on the dry side. Just drag out from it and just drag a few little wisps of darker water. Into the bottom area there and through there. A little bit just through there. And you do have stones when the tide's down and the water's just flowing. You do have stones in the water showing through, so you can just develop some little patches of stones into there. Now the far side, use it a little bit lighter, and you want to suggest rocks and things on the bottom of the land on the far side. So just go into the far side over there, and you're doing the same. You go into the lighter patches underneath them and shadow as though the big stones on the bank side over the other side, just coming down at an angle off the edge there. So just little bits of dark just underneath, and just creating these edges of stone on the far side. No, never stopped down the gallery this morning. It must be getting near Christmas. The bank side is, sorry, the gallery is busy. Right, so you're just building them, and that's going around the corner back there, and we'll sharpen that edge up there afterwards. Just take that edge off there. I presume you're still with me, I don't know. I can't see everything going. Right, so that window up there wants some panes in. So I'm going to just sharpen up the chimneys using just a bit of burnt sienna blue. And just sort of get these sense of chimneys up here. Got more chimneys in than what we need, but it doesn't matter. The chimney at the far side, angled down into the building, an edge like that. Sharpen up that edge. Sharpen up under the roof going away. And there's windows down there. You can't see much of them, but there are, so just a little bit of blue burnt sienna, all the same colour, and just flick in some window panes. Narrow because they're going away from you. And a doorway sort of idea just into there like that. and then a bit of dark into that light window there. So you just want to create some dark panes here and there. And there's doorways, etc. down here. Now all I'm doing is just painting them in dark and just creating an edge like that, as though there's bits just not being seen. And then I want to put in a sense of the garages, etc. on the edge like that. So just little flicks in, just creating the atmosphere. And while you're on with the darker colour and the stronger colour, tidy up this edge. So that comes out like that. That's actually sort of a patio with a wall going round it. So just tidy that area up. And what you've actually got is a little wall here and there. So what you want to do is just flip in and create a sense of light onto roofs, like little garage roofs. So you just flick across the top and you leave light patches. You just flick across the top and leave light patches just to suggest little patches of light catching roofs, etc. across there. And then darken this wall down. It's still staying wet, but you can darken it down again, get a harder edge. And the same principle, just create light edges, leave patches of light, take it back up the slip like that. And just leaving lighter patches all around. And then just with some drier patches, just create a sense of doorways, etc. kicking around in these areas. Odd flick as though there's some little bits of wall on that side. Just lose that, just getting just a bit too detailed. And then do the same, come up this side of the wall here and just create little darker patches from the top, like that. Leave an odd gap of light and just flick it down so that you're creating broken feelings of little roofs, little outlets just down there, like that, just a little sense of light kicking around. The problem is you've got to be careful you don't overwork it, which I'm starting to do. Into that edge of that building, lose the white. Losing it down there. Right, a little bit of detail into the back board. So a little bit of Payne's grey really. And you've got the board in the background just there. So you need to sort of go around the back of it to develop the back of the board sitting on the slip. Just round the back like that. Up underneath it. Bit of shadow pulled out, and then just develop the interior a bit with just a few flicks and a bit of shadow. So you're not actually bothering too much about painting. I'm just going to lose them whites because they're just distracting. So you just got that little sense of the board just into there, and you can put the odd flick into some of these stoneworks here and there. So just with a bit of Payne's grey, you can just suggest little patches of stonework, etc. But like I said, don't get too bogged down with too much detail on that. Right, the boats, they need detail inside of them. So I would get a bit of blue and burnt sienna, but more burnt sienna side. And you're just going to paint in the interior of these boats. Tidy the edges up round the outside edge like that, so you get a clean edge, but wet that away, don't leave it as a hard line, wet it away into the background so that you're not putting a dark line around the board, you're just wetting it away into the background like that. Around the edges and just lifting it away. Get your burnt sienna, go inside the light, and then paint a few gaps between the seating going across. Fetch that round to the front. Drop a little bit of yellow into them gaps so they just lighten up a fraction. You don't want them to be too solid. And you can flick for some oars through there like that. Just resting on the back. Suggest a nameplate down the side. Like that. Do the same on the other one, just going to the back of that. That's going to the front, so you're going round the front edge, just leaving a little bit of light on the top. Painting some darker patches in between the seating. Going across, leave a gap, paint another one in, like that. Across the top of the board. A few flicks here and there. Like that. Want to darken these boards off a little bit. See where that's running, that's fine. I'll add little patches of detail into that afterwards where it's running a little bit. But I'm just trying to get that sense of a silhouette more than anything else. Go to the other board, darken it down around the back. Flick in and one or two flicks across like that. Just let that sit in there, like that. Bit of yellow ochre, and go over to the back where you've got some whites and just dab in some little bits of yellow ochre into the whites, but still leave it light on the top. You're just sort of creating a few stones and rocks down at that bottom edge there. Just still leaving it light, and then some Payne's grey, and just create a definite edge to the river side. Don't paint a long line round, just look for some stones and just lift them out underneath and just give a darker emphasis. Lift some up here and there. And like I said, you can paint some stones in as though there's stones in the water. Flick round like that. Come round. Create some little bits of edges where it's meeting the water. It's alright. Now I want to put in a little bit of yellow ochre just down these edges here, so a little bit of stronger, drier yellow ochre, and just drag in some broken bits of yellow ochre, not into that bit but into the stones and the top, so you're just creating a little bit of colour into there. That might be just a bit too bright, so I'm just going to tone it down a bit. Might just be too bright. Just want to sharpen the edges of these boards up. Payne's grey underneath the back of that board with Payne's grey. And drag it off towards the front. Round there, drag that off to the front. Bit of water and just tone down that white so that it's not bright white on that side, because it's meant to be in shadow a bit, so you can leave it lighter on that side but just tone it down on that side. A little bit of broken yellow ochre in here and there. Just through there like that. And then once posting, this bit that's running here where it's wet, that is staying wet all the time. I can't get that to dry, so I might have to just touch that area up when it's dry. But the general effect of a silhouette is what I'm after. I might just suggest some edge to that house there, just with a bit of water, just suggest the other side of it, like that, and a feeling of windows going down and away, and maybe another chimney in, like that. You've got that feeling of that going away. Right, what you want now is posts in, and I need that board to be just a little bit more strength just in the background, because it is supposed to be silhouetted against the light, so I need the back end of it just to be casting a shadow. And what I'll do, I'll just darken above it a bit. So it just stands out a little bit. Right, posts with all the ropes tying the boards together. What you've got to do is be just confident with this and quick. I'm presuming it's dry. So this wants to be strong. So I'm using burnt sienna and French ultramarine, but I'm adding some Payne's grey in so that it's got a strength to it. And you're just going to put in some posts. The only way to do this is just flicks, right? Just flicks. Don't try painting them slowly, they'll look too obvious. So a few flicks in here and there, dry, but there's a big one in here. Now that's still wet, so we'll see what happens. So I'm putting the colour in fairly dry, just dragging it in, just tidying the top up, and another couple just off here. Put one over here. It wants to be strong and dry. We'll put one into here, and a smaller one there. Just a balance of pores. In there, just down there, just suggest a reflection, as though there is a bit of wet water down there. Just suggest a reflection off there. And then on these, you want a shadow from them, the backlit, so you want a shadow coming out over to the side, like that. And just wet them so they peel off and loosen. So just wet them so they peel off and get looser, like that. I'm trying to tidy that up, but it's just staying really wet. Right, after that, what you want is a finer brush, and you want some ropes to touch. Now, you can sharpen up parts of the board, so you can just go in and sharpen little edges up underneath, and you can play around with the boards and tidy them up if you want, but I don't want to do too much with them. So what you want now is some wet burnt sienna, a rigger brush, and you're just going to create ropes going off to the side. So the only thing you can do is click onto them and pull away quite quickly. So you're just going onto them and pull away. I know there's white ropes on there, but we haven't got white. Well, try with a bit of gouache. So you're into there and just flick away and just create some curves. Flick some over to the side, like that. Down there, down across here, just creating a few little bits of flicks of ropes here and there down to these edges. Little loop of rope there. One or two just off the paper, as though they're going into the other edge there. Through there. And you can, if you've got some, I'll try some gouache. I've got some gouache somewhere, probably in the bag. Right, got a little bit of gouache, a little bit of white gouache here and there. Try this and see if we can get this to flick as well. Now if you want, you can take your time with the gouache and rather than flick, because I don't think it'll flick that well. So you can just drag from the board a little bit of gouache out and up. Problem is with gouache is that it dries off on you, so you can just create a line coming from there back to the board, from there down to another post like that. You can tidy up the edges with the gouache of the boards and just put a little bit of light on the top of that board, just there. Little ropes going round the poles. And just lean on that a second. A little bit of white going out there. A little bit of white across the top of that board, because that wants to look backlit, so you want a little bit of light on the top of that board. Just there, pulling round. Like that. A little bit of light on the top of your posts, so they look as though they're catching the light. A little touch in here. I'm going to put a little bit of light down the left hand side of these, as though they just catching the light from the back a bit. And I'm going to put a little bit of light across the top of here. And across the top of here. So that's like a patio, and you've got to make it look as though the light is catching across through there, like that. That's all right into there. I'm fine with that. I don't need that. Flick down there for the centre of the board and put a name on it. Lucy on it. Across there. And you can play with this and just fiddle on, but the general effect of just getting that silhouette is fine. I'm going to darken down the bottom area a little bit, just to push the colour forward, just with the usual blue and burnt sienna. And I'm just going to darken into this area with just a few streaks like that, or if you darken down parts of your foreground, it always makes the picture push back in, so just a few darks into there. A little bit of reflection, silhouette of that into the water. Right, let's just take the tape off and see what we've got. Like I say, you can go over this and actually paint more detail if you want, but this whole effect is just to get a loose edge under this picture. So yeah. Then, do you have a large mound? No, can't even. So there you go. I haven't got a mount. I don't think Owlin has a mount. I can't, you know, I should get my glasses when I do this. I can't see. Janet, another beautiful picture. Thank you. I'm just seeing if Owlin has. Do you have a big mount or not, Lynn? No.
Big mount?
Yeah, just to put over this original.
Would that work?
Yeah, that would work. 1 second, I'll just put a mount round it just so that you can see. I mean, you can add more, but this is the whole idea, was just this lighter background to it.
There you go.
Don't touch it.
It's already dirty.
It's already
don't worry about
dirty.
it, yeah.
There's a mount over it. There you go. think that looks quite nice there. So that's really just a,
Oh, that's lovely. Where's that?
that stairs just looking back up the river.
It's nice that.
So it's
Lovely.
just meant to be a silhouette like the back sun
Yeah.
lighting up and catching the light on places. Like I say, you can add more detail, but basically you don't need to. You want to just make a statement with that, and that's what it is. So keep it light. If you're going to do it, keep it light and let the light vanish, and then you've got time. I've been doing this as demo, so I've had to paint wet in wet really. If you can let it dry a bit, then put your silhouette in and then add your boats, but very loose. I haven't done a lot of detail on that at all. And I've seen messages, but I can't, wait a second. Jennifer, it's lovely you make it look so easy. I really need to keep trying with it. It's really a matter of being quick and look. So I've been using big brushes for most of it. I'm taking a risk holding a brush over this. Big mop brush to paint it all in. And then this is all just flicks. It has run a bit, so I've had to actually overwork it a bit because it's run a bit and I've had to keep going over it. What you should be trying to do is get to do it in one sort of go and work it in. But I think I'm happy enough with it.
Yeah, nice, yeah.
I'll tell you what you can do. You put a bit of light. I'll just put a bit of gouache light on the water at the back. Just through there, just to catch, as though there's ripples in the water and it's catching the light in parts. Like movement in the water, because the tide's just going out. There you go, just one more ripple. I just fancy another ripple in there. So I think if you're happy enough with that, I'll post the picture afterwards and send the video up to you and post the picture as well, so that you can see it all. I'm just going to swap camera to see if it looks different. I can now fiddle with cameras, so I'll just swap the camera around. Wait a second. I've got another camera on it, but I didn't want to keep swapping. Where's the camera at? I've got two oh, there's another camera. Well, that's me. I can't swap cameras. You're stuck with that. I'll turn it round a bit if I can angle it so that it gets straighter for you. There you go. Alright, I think that's about it. You can do very loose pictures and get a nice sense of light onto it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole idea of this, was to get a sense of light in this watercolour. And you can only get a sense of light by having a darker silhouetted background to it and just picking out the light. So if that's all right with you, I'll take a photograph of it when it's dry and I'll send it up to you, and I'll send the video to you as well. And then I'll get you that as well on a disc.
Very good.
Right, so you can have a go at it on a disc and fetch it down DVD for you and sort that out. All right.
Very good, yeah. Thanks.
No problem. I like it. I think it's all right. I think it'll look quite nice framed up. So it's simple. I haven't put any detail at the boat. It's simple, just shapes, and that's basically what this whole picture was about. Shapes. Right. Another job for you to get doing, you lot. So switch cameras over to me. That's it. So I've had these cameras on and a bit of light, so it's fine. So where we at? Right. That took what, about an hour, really, an hour and just over an hour to do. So if you big brush strokes, big feeling of light, and then you can add a bit of detail if you want. I could add more detail. I could put more detail in the boats, but to be quite honest, I don't want to. I want to leave it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I want to leave it as that, just a loose feeling. So I'll tidy up and hopefully I can get the switching gear to work for the next week and get that sorted out. So I'll get this sent up to you later on. It'll probably be tomorrow when you get it, and sort it out for you. So I'll say ta-ra. I don't know if you're still there. Wait a second. Yeah, it's still live. I'll say ta-ra and I'll see you Monday. I'm doing something. Oh, I've got a nice one for you on Monday. Another French cafe type scene. So we'll do that on Monday. Right, I'm going to log out if I remember how to do it down here. I can't see any more messages, so I don't know if you're still there. Right, alright then, I shall see you anon. Bye.